Chapter 4, verbatim. The history of taxes and the power of corporation. Chapter summary. Many people see Robin Hood as a hero, taken from the rich and given to the poor. Rich Dad did not share that opinion. He called Robin Hood a crook, though the popular sentiment is that the rich should pay more in taxes and give to the poor. In reality, it is the middle class that is heavily taxed, especially the educated upper income middle class. To understand how this happens, Robert gives a brief history of taxes. In England and America, originally there were no taxes, only occasional temporary levies to pay for such things as war. In 1874, England made income tax a permanent levy on its citizens. In America, the land where a tax on tea led to the Boston Tea Party protests and helped ignite the Revolutionary War. The adoption of the 16th Amendment in 1913 made an income tax permanent. These countries were able to get tax accepted by the majority because they were first levied only against the rich. However, although income tax was designed to punish the rich, it would punish those who have voted for it, the poor and the middle class. Rich Dad explained that he and Poor Dad were opposite. Poor Dad, as a government employee, was rewarded if he spent money and hired people, making his organization larger. But for Rich Dad, the fewer people he hired and the less money he spent, the more he was respected by his investors. And as the government grows, so does the amount of tax dollars needed to support it. Poor Dad sincerely believed the government should help people. He and Robert's mom worked for the Peace Corps, training volunteers to go to Malaysia, Thailand, and the Philippines. They were always seeking more grants and budget increases so they could hire more people. For Robert, it was a challenge to work for one of the biggest capitalizations in town and go home to a predominantly government leader. It wasn't easy to know which dad to believe. But over time, as Robert studied the history of taxes, he saw an interesting perspective. As the government appetite for money grew, taxes soon needed to be levied on a middle class, and from there it kept trickling down. But the rich saw an opportunity because they don't play by the same set of rules. Corporations, which became popular in days of selling ships, offered a way around taxes. Understanding the legal corporation structure gave the rich a steep advantage and allowed them to outsmart the intellectuals. The government ideal is to avoid having excessive money. If you fail to spend your allotted funds, you risk losing it in the next budget. Business people, on the other hand, are rewarded for having excessive money and are applauded for their efficiency. And as the government continued its idea and spent more and more money, more taxes, this time on the middle class and eventually the poor, were needed. A corporation is simply a legal document that creates a legal entity. It is not really a thing, not a factory or a group of people, but it offers a lower income tax rate than individuals have, and certain expenses can be paid by a corporation with pre-tax dollars. If those who get up and go to work at their jobs and pay taxes could only understand the way the rich play the game, they could too. The problem is, the harder you work in a job, the more you must pay the government. Taxes end up punishing the very people who voted them in. Attempts to punish the rich rarely works because the rich find ways to minimize their tax burden. One such way is Section 1031 of the Internal Revenue Code, which allows the seller to delay paying taxes on a piece of real estate that is sold for a capital gain through an exchange of a more expensive piece of real estate. As long as you keep trading up in value, you won't be taxed on the gains until you liquidate. Those who don't take advantage of these savings are missing a chance to build their asset column. In all the years Rich Dad was guiding Robert, he was trying to teach him that knowledge is power, and with money comes great power that requires the right knowledge to keep it and make it multiply. Without the knowledge, the world pushes you around. The tax man is a bully who will always take more if you let him. Don't let him be making money. Don't let him be making money. I'm sorry. The tax man is a bully who will always take more if you let him. Don't let him by making your money work for you. Smart tax consultants and attorneys are worth their cost, as it's still cheaper than paying the government. It's expensive to not know the law. In the mid-20s, when he was just out of the Marine Corps and working for Zyron, Robert was disappointed by how much was taken out of his paycheck. It motivated him to form his first corporation in 1974 and work harder as his day job to amass as much money as possible to invest in real estate. He became one of the top salesmen as Xerox, and in less than 3 years was making more in his real estate holding corporation than he was at Xerox. His company bought him his first Porsche, proof that the plan was working. The lesson he learned from Rich Dad helped him break out of the proverbial rat race at an early age, and he wants to help others do the same. Financial IQ or financial intelligence is what makes this possible. It made up of four things: accounting, financial literacy, or the ability to read numbers and evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of any business. Investing, the science and strategies of making money, understanding markets, the science of supply and demand and market conditions, and the law, tax advantage and protection. Understanding those legal advantages is profound when it comes to long-term wealth. For instance, a corporation can pay expenses before paying taxes, whereas an employee gets taxed first and must try to pay expenses on what is left. Board meetings in Hawaii, car payments, and insurance and health club memberships can be pre-tax expenses for a corporation. Corporations also offer legal protections from lawsuits. When someone sues a wealthy individual, they are often met with lawyers of legal protection and often find that the wealthy person actually owns nothing. They control everything but owns nothing. Robert urges those who own legitimate assets to find out more about corporations, benefits, and protections. Garrett Sutton's books are amongst many that can help. In summary, business owners with corporations earn, spend, and then pay taxes. Employees who work for corporations, they earn, pay tax, and then spend. Left hemisphere moment. Accounting is a financial literacy of the ability to read numbers. This is a vital skill if you want to build an empire. The more money you are responsible for, the more accuracy is required, or the house comes tumbling down. Right hemisphere moment. Investing is the science of money making money. This involves strategies and formulas which use the creative side of the brain. Subconscious moment. Understanding markets is the science of supply and demand. You need to know the technical aspect of the market, which are emotional driven, in addition to the fundamental or economic aspects of an investment. What was Robert saying? Now it's time to reflect. Ask yourself, what is Robert saying in this quote? Why does he say that? In this section, you do not need to agree nor disagree with Robert. The goal is to understand what Robert is saying. Remember, this curriculum is designed to be cooperative and supportive. Two minds are better than one. If you do not understand what Robert is saying, do not shy away from it. Ask for help in understanding. Take the time to discuss each quote until you understand it. My rich dad just plays the game smart, and he did it through corporations, the biggest secret of the rich. The reality is that the rich are not taxed. It's the middle class who pays for the poor, especially the educated upper income middle class. Every time people try to punish the rich don't simply comply, they react. They have the money, power, and intent to change things. They don't just sit there and volunteer pay more taxes. If you work for money, you give the power to your employer. If money works for you, you keep the power and you control it. A person who understands the tax advantage and protection provided by a corporation can get rich so much faster than someone who is an employee or a small business sole proprietor. It's like the difference between someone walking and someone flying. Employees earn and get taxed, and they try to live on what's left. A corporation earns, spends everything it can, and is taxed on anything that is left. It's one of the biggest legal tax loops that the rich use. Additional questions. Now it's time to take the stories in the chapter along with the understanding of what Robert was saying and apply them to your life. Ask yourself the questions below and discuss them with your study partner. Be honest with yourself and your partner. If you do not like some of the answers you are given, ask yourself if you are willing to change and accept the challenge to change your thoughts and mindset. Do you agree with Rich Dad's assessment of Robin Hood, that he was a crook? Why or why not? Have taxes created a bigger problem with government spending? Do you think members of the middle class and the poor realize that the burden of taxes have fallen to them? What effects of that do you see? Do your beliefs fall more under the banner of capitalism or socialism? What are the benefits and downfalls of each way of thinking? Are the rich right to use the advantage of corporations to avoid paying tax? Do you think more people could follow suit if they understood the system better? What are specific ways that you yourself could benefit from using a corporation for your assets? Terms and definitions. 1031. Jargon for Section 1031 of the Internal Revenue Code, which allows a seller to delay paying taxes on a piece of real estate that is sold for a capital gain through an exchange of a more expensive piece of real estate. Corporation. A legal document that creates a legal body without a soul. It's not a building, a factory, or a group of people using it. The wealth of the rich is protected. Financial IQ. Financial intelligence that comes as a result of financial education. People with high financial IQ learns to use other people's money to become rich. Financial literacy. The ability to read and understand financial statements, which allows you to identify the strengths and weaknesses of any business. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this chapter, make sure you like, comment, and follow, so that you could get chapter number 5. And this is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So if you learned something in this chapter, please drop it below. And bye for now.